spread one love, okay? Thanks for tuning in to us, the MNM Show.
MNM.
MNM.
Show.
Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to another super real, zany, who knows exactly where we're going to go episode of the M&M Show. I am your host, Nikki MG, and I'm here with the one, the only, the fabulous
J. Mills.
That's right, folks. And Molly's going to be joining us momentarily, so we'll get to check in with her. But I'm really, really excited today to introduce to you a very special guest, someone that I have gotten to know over this campaign season and come to respect very, very much. And I'm super excited to work with and continue to work with. I'm happy to introduce to our viewers Markus Batchelor. Candidate for the National Committeeman of the DC Democratic State Committee, my partner and my slate mate. Markus, welcome.
Right. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. It's a glorious Tuesday here in the district.
Indeed.
You know, so as per usual, I want to start off and just check in with folks. What's new? What's going on? We didn't have a show last week. We're taking a break. I am now full 8 months pregnant.
Wow.
So sometimes I need a nap, you know, and I think last Tuesday was one of those days. So I'm really excited to be back. I missed seeing you.
Oh, I miss you too.
Yeah. So J Mills, what's new? What's been going on over the last couple weeks?
It's been a wonderful time in the district. Shout outs to the DC Growers Cup that was on May 26th. Shout outs to the Canna Cookout that was on May 27th. Shout outs to the Ladies Love Loud Crab Feast.
Yes.
Full Moon Crab Feast that was on the 27th as well, going down again June 29th, FYI. And then my birthday, May 31st. That was pretty dope. I was in Vegas. That was cool.
How young are you now?
I have reached the Jesus year.
All right. Is that 32?
33.
33.
32 is the sweet 16 again.
Okay. I like that framing.
Yeah. So
happy belated birthday, Queen.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. It feels weird because I've been 23 for like the past 9 years or so. I kind of.
You look like it.
Never changed. And now I'm like 33 and it's like, oh, dang. I never even lied to be this old.
But you look fabulous. You look fabulous.
Indeed.
Thank you.
I remember when I was 33.
Oh.
Yeah. And Markus, you are 25 now.
You're a 90s kid.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
93. Oh my God.
I remember that year.
93. That's the Clinton year right there.
What were you doing in 1993? Do you remember? What was
roller skating?
Roller skating.
I was in gymnastics camp.
Yeah.
93. I was 8 years old. It was third grade. I remember.
I was in the 6th grade. So I was real awkward. I was being real awkward and gangly and
yeah, that was 3rd and 4th grade. That was 6th grade for you.
Yeah.
We were kids like a mug though, but you were being born.
I was a super kid, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were learning how to walk and whatnot.
Not even. Not
right.
even.
It's more like, we were graduating from high school. He was like...
Couldn't even hold my neck up. Like my head up on my neck. I was on.
But I feel like with you, as soon as you did learn how to hold up your neck, you were like proclaiming leadership.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You've always been mature
I
for
am
your
the
age.
future. You know? I was just talking about you the other day. We're in campaign mode, so I got to talk about how awesome you are and everything. And somebody was like, I just can't believe how young he is, like he doesn't have the experience to like know anything. And I was like, man, if I wish I was like Marcus when I was his age. If I was doing what Marcus is doing now when I was his age, like I just can't even imagine how much farther and more powerful I would be at this stage in my life, because I didn't get involved in a public way with community engagement, with local politics until I was like 28 years old, and so you have been deeply, it sounds like, involved since you were like 18 years old.
Yeah, well, like 15, 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really lucky to have people who pulled me in real early and never stopped going.
That's awesome. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
So what's been up with you, Marcus? What's new?
Oh, nothing new other than riding this Caps bandwagon.
I was in Vegas for the Caps game, and they were so mad when we won. It felt so good. I'm pretty sure I was the only Caps fan in the vicinity. Go Caps!
Right. I don't know. I don't even know if I was a Caps fan until about 3 weeks ago, but I'm all in right now. I'm all Caps right now.
Go Caps!
Yeah.
That's so funny because I was just talking to somebody about sports in DC the other day too, and someone. So we have a friend visiting from out of town, and actually who lives in Philadelphia, a family member who lives in Philadelphia, and she was talking about how Philly just has this real loyalty and excitement and enthusiasm around their baseball teams and football and all of that, and like people are die hard, and they were saying how it doesn't really feel like that in DC. And I was saying, well, the Nationals, they're still like, they haven't actually been here that long. They've been here a while now, and we love them, but I think maybe it takes some time. And then there's the for folks who, from my understanding, who have lived here in DC for a long time, there's this some people are diehard Redskins fans. Other people are like, nah, F them, because the team was like the very last to integrate, in the NFL.
And they did Doug Williams dirty.
And that, and the stadium's not in DC anymore. So like there's complicated feelings around the team. And then, so DC United though has a really, really strong, cadre of people that are like diehard, the Barra Brava, right. So like I feel like there's a strong culture that's really cool and beautiful around that. But then like with the Caps specifically, so every time I'm downtown and there's a Caps game or something, or I'm like riding the metro, it just seems like everyone who goes to the game is going back to Virginia. Like they don't actually live in the district,
And it's really hard to be diehard if like your teams just don't win. Like the Skins haven't won a Super Bowl since before I was born.
92.
Yeah.
Dang.
So
that's what I remember when they.
I had the sweatshirt.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Yeah. The Nats look like they will go all the way every year, and then
they don't.
Yeah.
They're cursed.
Yeah.
The Redskins are cursed. The Nats are cursed. That should have went to restoring DC General Hospital went to a baseball team.
Not touching that.
People are too woke in DC for that kind of shit.
I'm just
for
saying.
real.
Yeah, no.
People are aware.
People are not forgetting the ballpark. Nope.
No. Yeah, people are still angry about that.
Yeah. I mean, there's no hospital
I
in
know.
Southeast.
Yeah.
But there's a baseball stadium
that has seasonal low-wage jobs for a lot of people. Hey. But go baseball team.
But even still, if they actually seem like they would win, people would join them. Even the Redskins. Like once it seems like they're doing good, people begrudgingly.
Oh yeah.
DC just wants a sports team to win.
We just want something we can be.
We just want to win.
We just want to win.
I don't understand hockey, but I'm rooting for the Caps though.
Yep. Watched the game from beginning to end last night.
Well, how are the Wizards doing though? How they been doing?
I mean, they're not.
Yeah, they're getting better, but they're not.
Shout out
They
to
haven't
John
hit their
Wall.
sweet spot yet.
Yeah. Does Gilbert Arenas still play for the Wizards?
Ouch.
That is how out of tune I have been with the Wizards. I'm so embarrassed. But I've been under this extreme like laser focus on like workers' rights, you know. So like a lot of things that are relevant to the city over the years have like gone to the wayside in my mind. And the Wizards and their status has been one of those things. Sorry, Wizards fans.
It's okay.
Well, it seems like athletes across the country are having some workers' rights issues now, especially in the NFL. So maybe that's something.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. You know what? When I was at DC Jobs with Justice, this was actually something that came up. In particular, hey, Molly. Welcome. The issue of like workplace rights or like workers' rights, athletes' rights really came up in the student athlete arena. You know, it's interesting when you think about it. You know, the students, especially at the big schools, you know, they do generate a lot of money for the university, you know, and work a lot of hours and risk injury, you know, and I don't remember like what their actual demands were, like what they wanted to see change, but I think they maybe did want some compensation or insurance provision, you know, or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I do remember as a kid, though, like I loved baseball. I lived in Maryland, so I was a Baltimore Orioles fan. There was no Nationals at the time. So even to this day, go O's. But I remember, I think the first time there was a strike, right? Like you know, and I didn't understand, you know, at the time what was going on. But I think I understand a little bit more now. And it comes down to the money, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
On both sides of that issue, comes down to the money.
Always does.
Right, in every issue.
Pretty much.
Right.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
Yeah.
Molly, welcome.
What's up, man?
How you doing this glorious Tuesday in the district?
I'm good. I'm late. I apologize.
Sometimes we're all a little late.
You know, running around trying to
Jamming.
get you know. I
Yeah,
was
what's
on my
going on
bike
there?
Earlier.
Oh, as a speaker.
Speaker, yeah.
So you can have your own soundtrack.
It super helps.
I'm gonna walk around work like
Super
that
help.
tomorrow.
What would be on your personal soundtrack?
Oh, right now, for some reason, and I think this is every guy, but they won't admit it. "Booed Up" by LMA cannot get out of my head right now.
It's a good song.
It's a really good song.
Ooh. Oh, wait. I'm not even going to try it. Her voice and the song is so rich and everything, and I just already butchered it. Molly, you're a great singer. Do you know?
You're funny.
I heard you can blow.
Feelings. So deep in feelings.
Okay, see, they got a lot of jokes right now. A lot of jokes. Have you ever heard our intro?
No.
Eminem.
Not doing it. Show.
There we go.
Yes.
Felt that in my
We
chest.
got all the ranges. Yeah. So this is One Love Massive House of Music. So, you know, we get musical in our own unique ways sometimes. Jay Mills actually legitimately gets musical, but me and Molly are definitely not legitimately getting musical.
I've been known to pop G strings on guitars.
I was like, what is happening? What just happened?
Oh.
You guys.
So what's new with you, Molly?
You know, working a lot. I clean Airbnbs a lot. That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
You know, it's a good time to do deep spring cleaning.
And every day, 4 times.
Yes. I mean, no.
No, exactly. No. But you know, I'm grateful. So I manage 4 Airbnbs now. the 2 next door to mitigate the sound complaints, and 1 in my basement, and 1 for a friend. And it's definitely helping to like cover the rent and pay the bills, and it's definitely taking a lot of pressure off. But it's just hard because I was already working really long days, and now I spend 4 hours a day cleaning, and then I spend countless other hours like dealing with people's requests. And shockingly enough, I'm not the nicest, most customer service based hi kind of a person, you know. And so
you're like, what do you want?
Yeah, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it.
The bed's over here.
They are ridiculous.
I'm just picturing you as an innkeeper, yo.
Oh, it's not good.
Oh my god,
it's not good. It's not good. And I mean, for people that are for the people that are like reasonable, like I'm great. I'm warm. They like me. It's fine. It's for the people that are not great. I ain't got no time for their shit. Yeah. And let me tell you, people are absurd. Like people,
they
like,
really are.
Every single guest on every single reservation will ask for an early check-in and a late checkout, as if no other humans exist. You know. And then they'll ask for an early check-in and then get there and be like, there's some towels in the dryer. Like, yeah, I haven't figured out how to move time or beat gravity yet. So when, you know, like it's like crazy.
So now you get hot towels. Yeah. What's the deal? What's the problem with that?
Like, is this really messing up your one night stay in my Airbnb? You know, like really, man?
No, but it's weird because it makes Airbnb to me is like Uber, where people forget, like Uber, you're hitchhiking.
You're in someone else's car.
Okay. You're in someone else's car. They're giving you a ride. You're a stranger.
Yeah.
Right.
Shut the fuck up and be thankful that they're giving you a ride. In Airbnb, you're staying in somebody's crib. You're crashing.
You're in my house.
You're crashing in somebody's house.
Yes.
They let you, a stranger, into their home.
Yes.
Be grateful.
Right.
Be humble.
And
whatever you get, thank you.
Yes.
Like what you think? Like, where do you think you are?
Where's my wake up call? Where's the chocolate on my pillow? I'm like at the Hilton, bitch.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's where it is.
Right.
Exactly.
That doesn't go over real well.
It
surprisingly
doesn't
with people.
Oh, that sucks.
But I did discover there's like a pre-written messages like section that so I'm like, all right, what's my better quality is like humor versus customer service. So I'm writing clever, well-crafted messages to help people come to the conclusion that I'm not the motherfucking Hilton, but in a nice, friendly, you know, preemptive way, so that they connect some of those dots. Because I don't think people intend to be jerks or unrealistic. Some of them do, but some of them just really have really unrealistic expectations. So if you set the tone early, you know, it helps mitigate. And then I also realized bribery is great. Like if you leave a joint, no complaint.
You know,
I'm not above it. I mean, not in the political realm. I just want to put that out there.
You know, that's funny.
Only Airbnbs.
I did Airbnb like when it first came out in DC. This was probably like 2009. And I remember it was around the time of Obama's first election because or second election.
Probably second.
Wait, yeah. Okay. Because there was like this high demand, like people wanted to come into the district. So I was like, I'm gonna rent out my couch, you know, for cheap and, you know, help someone. And it was a good experience. So then I decided to do it again, right? After a while I quit because it was just too much. It's too tiring to like clean things. I'm like working full time and I'm like trying to come home and relax. But I gotta tell you about this one couple that I had. And just speaking of people's expectations and ridiculousness, so they seemed nice and everything at first. I think they were from like Washington State or something, and it was a couple, an older couple, and I thought everything was cool, but they well, everything actually wasn't cool, like because I found a bunch of their hair like in my personal razor. It was like really gross, like long and like just like caked in there. It was,
what did they shave?
I don't know, but they did it. They did it with my razor. So I didn't say anything because I didn't, you know, I just I was just like, I can't believe this just happened. I'm just going to get a new razor and keep it pushing. But then they left me a bad review on
the nerve.
Airbnb because I had a dust bunny under the bed. So I had to like send them a personal message like, I don't really think that this is fair. And I was like really accommodating and nice to you all. And you use my fucking razor.
Right.
And they were like, well, you should have had a dust bunny under the bed. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this shit.
Well, I would never share a space because I don't even really like my friends to spend the night. You know what I mean? So I'm not feeling that. But all this is like their own rentals. So I've never dealt with people that up close. But for all, I mean, I could go on. I have like 16 nightmare stories I can tell you, and that's just from May. It's 4 houses.
Yeah.
It's 4, different sets of problems every day, And part of me is definitely very conflicted about it because it's like, am I taking away affordable housing? Am I part of the problem now? But like, I got to pay my rent, man. I'm struggling to survive in this city. So it's all very, it's a daily, it's a daily struggle to determine whether or not it's really what I want to do or not. But then, like, right now, next door, the guests that are there are the people that started the Standing Rock protest and created the No DAPL hashtag, and they are in D.C. getting the for the Kennedy Awards thing, and they're all staying next door right now. So,
that's
like,
awesome.
So, it's kind of like, then you get a reminder like that, and you're like, your worlds connect a little bit more, and you're like, okay, maybe things aren't so bad. You know what I mean? It's like not what happens, it's how you handle it kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm grateful for it. It definitely is helping a lot of things, but man, I'm fucking tired.
Yeah.
And all I do is touch toilets. My hands smell like bleach all the time.
I know that life.
I'm obsessed with magic erasers. Like, seriously, have you guys used these things?
The Mr. Clean.
Like a Mr. Clean eraser?
Dude, the magic eraser is...
It is pretty cool.
Sorcery.
Yeah.
I'm perpetually skeptical of like those things.
Have you
I
tried
know,
it?
because I'm like,
work?
what's in it? But you know what else?
It cleans everything. Like, you can spray bleach shit. You can use those little Clorox wipes. Ain't getting it. You put a magic eraser on there. Ask Mike. Me and Mike been on a magic eraser habit, man. We cleaned every baseboard, every...
So you have been on a spring cleaning kick. I've been on a spring cleaning kick too, but you know what I found out, which I'm mad about? I'm like, why wasn't I using this my whole life kind of thing, is baking soda, dude. Like, baking soda will take off the toughest grease and grime, like, on anything. Like, I hadn't cleaned our stove and the stove wall in 3 years. And I made
judgment.
Right.
for real. I made this little baking soda like paste, and I put it on there and let it dry, and then with no elbow grease, everything just wiped off.
So wait,
so
go
easily.
back, baking soda and water on the.
That's it.
Because I too was like, what is up with this wall behind my oven?
Yes.
It won't get clean.
Oh, man.
No, you can't
And
put
the
bleach
hood.
on it. You can't use soap and water, but the baking soda, dude, and it like cleaned my whole stove too. And also vinegar. Vinegar is dope. It'll take off like dirty, like hard water stains off of things you can't get.
They got a new Windex vinegar mashup.
What?
Yeah, this is my life now.
I mean, it is the
Literally
time for
my
spring cleaning. It's
It
the
is.
time for renewal, right? You know?
It's good. It's good. I've been
Yeah.
listening to a lot of podcasts during that time. I clipped my speaker and I'd listen to like some, awesome podcasts that really helped a lot. So I'm grateful for the time it's allotted me every day to just
Yeah.
have like a little bit of zen, in between being like, these motherfucking disgusting ass motherfuckers.
Yes, yes. Have you been getting your spring cleaning on, Marcus?
Yeah. So it's really just like throwing a bunch of crap away that I just hoard during the wintertime.
Yeah.
Right? And just being like, I just can't take this anymore. Like, and then just taking one day to turn your phone off and like feel like 3 trash bags full of stuff you never knew you ever had.
out with the old, right?
Yeah, well.
In with the new energy.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do with the Dumb Trump Dems for Action slate.
Speaking
by
of
the way.
speaking of spring cleaning,
Yeah.
Yes, it's time for some fresh energy, some new ideas, all of that. I want to talk to you a little bit more and let our viewers get to know you, Mr. Batchelor.
I'm actually more interested in how to get that grime off of my stove. So I'm glad I got that.
Baking soda and water.
And magic erasers for everything else.
Yeah.
I'm going right after this to the store to get some magic erasers.
Some baking soda.
You know what's great about it? You know, with different cleaners and stuff, like so domestic. You know, it doesn't have any smell, you know, it's not toxic or anything. So if you're using bleach or, you know, anything with ammonia or whatever, you know, you inhale that and you're like, this can't be healthy for me.
I'm near unconsciousness on every cleaning day.
I really love the smell of Febreze though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not Febreze, I'm sorry, Fabuloso.
Oh, that smells good, but like weird and chemically. Like
you either love it or you hate it, yo.
Yeah,
It makes me think of like grandma and like come inside, don't leave that door open. And, like,
yeah, but it smells good, but I still get the inkling that it's not cleaning anything.
No, it's not. I just put a pot of it on the stove to make it smell good.
Wait, you put what on the stove?
Fabulous.
That's got to be really
I
dangerous.
hate the smell of Fabulous.
Love it or hate it, yo. It's one or the other. We should
put
take
it
a
on the
poll.
stove.
What is the group saying right now?
You should not put that. Is no.
I don't.
Jay Mills,
yeah, I
that
don't
is.
know.
You're gonna have like the Toxic Avenger creeping out of your floorboards with that shit. No.
No.
Like, you know, Fabuloso is suspect because it doesn't say cleans or
No.
disinfects. It says
Smells
it will
good.
smell clean for up to 24 hours.
And boy, it does.
It smells clean.
Oh.
It literally says it on the bottle. It will smell clean.
I feel like I bought Fabuloso ones, like, you know, just on one of my darkest days, you know, like I only had $5 to my name. I needed to take care of some business,
You
you
know?
know, and that was what I had to get.
I mean, every bar in DC uses that shit, so.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's what it is.
We got some
Yeah.
people that
It's
is
that-
definitely feeling the Fabulous, so I'm not by myself. On
But
this.
but it's that
Oh.
clear.
What?
That's what it is. The Fabuloso is like the smell. It's like that clearly dirty bar smell, right? It's like I know what you're doing here,
Like-
but there's nothing clean in this bar.
Like you just put some spray Glade on top of
Yeah.
a whole bunch of regret.
I'm not even sure if you washed my glass before you gave it to me. If you're using Fabuloso.
Oh my
in the
gosh!
bar.
All of these different memories that
Facts.
people have in
Yeah.
attachments. It's
I
so
get,
horrible.
I worked in the restaurant industry for 17 years, so I can tell you about some
Please,
cleanliness.
please don't.
Fabuloso,
Please
pine
don't.
foam, a
Issues.
little bit of bleach.
Please don't. I'll never go out again.
Peppermint.
No. You should go out, support the restaurant industry, eat food, support workers. I will tell you about this one restaurant that closed. They're not even in business anymore. They closed a long time ago. I used to work there, but they weren't paying their bills on time to one of their suppliers. What's a restaurant delivery service group?
Costco?
Not
No.
Costco.
Cisco?
Yeah, Cisco, right? They deliver, you know,
Canned tidbits.
yeah, and then like cleaning supplies and all that kind of stuff. So they had gotten delinquent with their payments with them, and so they would no longer deliver the supplies that they needed. And so I don't know, for some reason we just couldn't get soap for the dishwasher station or the bathrooms or anything. So they would just use sanitizers. They'd run the dishes through. I'm telling you, yo, you don't know what happens behind the scenes
That's so
of
disgusting.
operations. So things were getting washed with hot water and then getting sanitized, but not actually.
You're not supposed to
washed.
eat off a plate that got sanitizer on
I
it.
mean, this restaurant closed, you know. So
Who was it?
And this is why
God.
some people soak their silverware in hot water when they eat at
Yes,
a restaurant, no matter
and
what
then wipe
restaurant
things off,
it is.
because you never know. And the thing was funny too, because we couldn't get soap, so we couldn't get it for the bathrooms for employees to wash their hands or for guests to wash their hands and stuff too. So guests after guests would come up to the host stand and be like, oh, you all ran out of soap, you know? And, you know, we'd always be like, oh, thank you so much for telling us. We'll get right on it. And then we didn't have any soap. So we...
For how long?
Oh, this was for like months.
Doesn't make me want to throw up, yo.
And I wasn't a manager at this place or anything, so I couldn't do anything about it. You know, we would always tell them.
We should take guesses on what restaurant it was.
It's closed. So
In the blue.
yeah. That was Indie
Damn.
Blue.
Dodged a bullet on that one.
Yeah, they're closed. So
Where were they?
They were in Chinatown, right across from the Verizon Center at 7th and G.
So we're paying a lot of rent to not have no fucking soap.
Yeah, man.
Well,
and the
that's
food
the
was
reason.
expensive. The drinks
Yeah, I
were
feel like
expensive.
spend it all on rent. Sorry.
Want chairs or soap?
You know.
I can relate to that.
Ugh,
But
somebody
that
got
restaurant,
salmonella.
like a lot of businesses, you know, I think what their downfall was, they invested in, like, their overhead was out of control. You know, the restaurant was gorgeous, right? But they had like special wood imported from Canada, and they had, you know, these one of a kind television mirrors for people, and they had all this futuristic, like really expensive high end furniture and stuff, and really expensive scotches and all of this stuff, and then you know, over time, they built a base at first with the restaurant clientele and like with the club downstairs, but then they switched chefs, and the chef completely changed not just like they used to serve like French and Indian fusion,
Yeah.
and no one else was doing that. But then they switched chefs multiple times, so then they lost their identity. They were no longer serving that kind of food. So the regular people that came there and loved it quit coming there, and then
I was one of them.
it's kind of, you know, it wasn't a strategic plan, I think. You know, they're just kind of rolling with the punches, and sometimes that happens. And then you know, the club downstairs changed over management, and the management they heard was actually stealing from them and everything, and then they had no training, you know, for people. So over time, the service, you never knew what kind of service that you were gonna get, you know. So just, I think like all of these things over time led to like high turnover of staff. So as a customer, you never knew what you were gonna get when you come in, and eventually people quit coming in, you know, because they're in the center of Chinatown where there's all these amazing food options and restaurants. You know, to be successful, you gotta step your game up in the District of Columbia, you know. So
Yep.
I don't even know why anybody. Oh, I just realized.
That's Zatania now, right?
no, Zytenia is on that same block, but it's down the street, and they're still alive and well and doing really great.
Yep,
and,
they are.
And one of the best restaurants and restaurant employers in the district, Jose Andres, and yes, I know he's against Initiative 77, but the restaurant actually partnered with Rock when they first got here, and were offering spaces to teach restaurant workers classes in how to improve their skills in fine dining, English classes for restaurant workers. They offer paid sick days. You know, they do things that a lot of other restaurants don't. So I fully support Jose Andres restaurants. But yeah, they're doing well and still open. Indie Blue is not, you know. So anyway, vote again on June 19th, and vote all the way at the bottom of your ballot for everyone running on the Dump Trump Dems for Action slate, and then below that, vote your opinion on Initiative 77, whether you think restaurants, tipped workers in particular, should have their base wage raised to $15 by 2025. So you have a chance to vote on that.
How much is the increase yearly?
So so there's a couple of things happening right now. There's a piece of legislation that has already been passed and enacted. And this is past what year is it now? 2018. So I think it was 2015 when the first minimum wage increased to $15, or actually no, to $12.50 happened. And then I think in 2017, there was another bill that was passed to increase the city's overall minimum wage to $15 and increase the tipped minimum wage to $5. So that means in 2016, the tipped minimum wage was $2.75, and it rose to $3.33 last year. So what is the math on that? I don't know. It's less than $1, right? So then next year, I think it'll go up to 4 something, and then the following year up to that $5 mark, because that was by 2020, to increase to $5 by 2020. So Initiative 77 is a continuation of that. So in 2018, after the tip minimum wage goes to $5, I'm not sure what it is incrementally, but it would be 2018 to 2025. So how many years is that? 7 years? It would have, restaurateurs would have 7 years to, increase wages.
$2 and some change a year if they do it evenly.
Yeah. But again, I don't know the exact, what the exact proposal, what the exact numbers are. Something that we should all get educated about. But I want to pivot back to Markus, because you're our special guest on the show today. We want to get to know you a little bit more and about your leadership, your story, so people know who they're voting for on June 19th. So again, welcome, Markus. Thanks for coming to the show. And tell us a little bit about yourself. You're from the district, born and raised. What neighborhood you represent?
Oh, Congress Heights, born and raised, still live there actually. So
all right.
Congress Heights all day long.
Southside.
There it is.
So tell us what's awesome about Congress Heights? What do you love about Congress Heights?
Oh man, what's not awesome about Congress Heights? I mean, my grandmother bought a house in Congress Heights close to 60 years ago, and it's just been a community that's been quintessentially DC, but it's been like quiet enough where it feels like home, right? It's not kind of in the middle of everything. And I think the biggest benefit to me was like I just had a really strong community, right, who took care of me and looked after me, and in cities like ours, sometimes that's hard, especially a city that's growing as fast as ours now. That's hard to replicate, but like having that small town feel, right, in the community was great. And obviously all over Southeast, I mean, we have the best views of the city from over there. So. Those are the best things about Congress Heights, and we got more stuff coming, right? I mean, St. Elizabeth's is about to be insane.
No pun intended.
Right.
Yeah. Tell for folks that don't know who are watching, what's going on in St. Elizabeth's.
Yeah, so there's a multi-billion-dollar investment coming to St. Elizabeth's East and West. So the West Campus is owned by the federal government. Where the new Homeland Security headquarters is going to be, and then the East Campus is owned by the district. And there's a lot of things coming to the East Campus, including the new entertainment and sports arena that's opening late this summer, early this fall. That'll be the home court for the Mystics and the practice facility for the Wizards. There's going to be housing. There's going to be a hospital. I'm hearing there may be a hotel, office space. I mean, it's going to be insane. But that also like brings into the conversation like the deep anxiety, folks, who've lived in the neighborhood like my grandmother feel, when you have an arena dropped into the middle of a otherwise quiet neighborhood, the anxiety around cost of living and being priced out is real. So, while we're excited about those investments, those are some things we're really struggling with.
Yeah. I'm curious if you know, or if you're comfortable to share, and if you're not, you can say or not, but I'm curious if you know, like, how much did your grandma actually get her house for 60 years ago?
Yeah, I have no idea, but I know it's worth much more
Yeah.
than she paid for it. And she gets letters all the time of folks who are trying to
Buy the
buy her
house.
house. But my grandmother's 91, and she's
She
like,
not
I'm not
buying,
going
yeah.
anywhere, right? So that's great. And she wants to keep it in the family too. So she's been there almost 60 years, and her and my grandfather worked hard to keep it. So we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Where did your grandma and grandpa, where did they come from before they were in DC?
Yeah, so my grandmother came from Louisa County, Virginia, and my grandfather's from North Carolina. So
Hey.
South.
Southern family,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I mean,
Both
there's
sides actually. My
Yeah.
my father's side all came from North Carolina too. So
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, DC is a southern town.
that's right.
You know?
As much as people try to not make it that way, but
It is.
Southern City.
And black folks, we mostly all immigrated. Is that? Yeah, that's
Migrated.
internal. Yeah, migrated up from the South, you know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of folks with Virginia and North Carolina roots, natives here in the district.
Yeah,
so.
and there's, the southern nature of it all. My grandmother tells stories all the time about how she used to work across the DC line in Virginia, and how when the metro bus, crossed the line, they would make all the black folks get up and go to the back. They were cool while they were in city limits, but once you crossed the line, you had to get up. And my grandmother was like, "Look, I'm not having that. I'm just gonna go to the back when I first get on, right?" But I mean, it's just like, just that legacy, right, of how DC has been a southern city in so many ways. I mean, from slave holding, first free, but still slave holding, and just the deep segregation I think black folks have experienced in this city, historically and also presently, right? I mean, that's still, that's still
Very real.
that's still very real. Yeah.
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 So, speaking of segregation
Yeah.
in our communities, I'm curious how, in your experience, or what your perspective is on how the lack of integrated neighborhoods, racially integrated neighborhoods, and systemic discrimination in workplaces still impacts women, black people, low income folks. How has that impacted the kids, DCPS, the schools? For people, I like the show to be educational as much as just about our opinions of the district. So I think people need to be educated about how schools are funded, right? And what the kind of system is with that.
Yeah, well, I think all of those issues that are facing the adults in our city, I think face the kids in our city 10 times as much. I mean, when you talk about DC having one of the largest wealth gaps in the country, having young people grow up in concentrated poverty is just is already putting students at risk and affects their academic performance and their academic opportunity long term. And then that really is trickled over to our school system. When you talk about the most under-resourced schools in the city, when you talk about the least supported schools in the city, when you talk about the lowest performing schools in the city, they're concentrated in our communities that have the most poverty. And our city hasn't, as prosperous as we are, and as much access as we have to resources and smart people and great institutions, we haven't figured out how to bridge that gap. I mean, we started what we call education reform in this city almost over a decade ago. And our achievement gaps, our opportunity gaps between black and white students, between poorer students and more affluent students are larger than they were 10 years ago. And so, we like to hold up this narrative, which is being very quickly dismantled with the news that's come out over the past few months. But we like to have this narrative that, we're the fastest improving and that, we're making strides. And in some cases that's happening, but where it's most important, we've really failed. And the fact that, and it's most insulting to, I think, residents in our city when our leaders are unwilling to acknowledge that. Yeah.
So I, as we all know, am expecting.
Yeah.
And so I've talked to other parents in the city, about how do I navigate the school system? How do I get prepared? And people are telling me like I need to start acting now, basically, and it feels really overwhelming. But so I've been looking at different school ratings in DC and in Maryland, just to compare and like see what it's about. And I see that there are some schools in DC, public schools, that actually have good ratings, but I saw that they were in like Ward 3.
Right.
And whereas the majority of the schools had a rating of like a somewhere between like a 1 and a 5, now the site that I was looking at this, I think it was Great School ratings.
Yeah.
So I don't know how thorough or like what biases exist in that, but as someone who's just like looking and trying to gauge, like what opportunities and what the test scores are and all of this stuff, it's prominent. It comes up online. And so I was like, okay, Ward 3. Let me see what the housing opportunities are around in Ward 3. And they're already pretty outlandish in Ward 4, where
got a couple million.
Yeah.
Where's Ward 3? What is that?
Ward 3 is
like
upper northwest.
Yeah.
Like Cathedral Heights, like all that
Yes.
stuff. Of course.
Yes.
It's the wealthiest ward
yes.
in the cities.
Right.
Yes. Up by Spring Valley, American
Right.
University, and Cleveland Park. And
Right.
So it's Mary Chay's ward, Councilmember Mary Chay's ward. So I was like, yeah, I can barely afford to live in Ward 4. Like, I'm definitely not going to be able to afford $1 million home. Not that I don't want $1 million home. I just don't foresee it in my future for some. I don't need that. But I want my child to have a good quality, free public education. And so we're talking about wealth disparity in the city, but there's still wealth here. Like, people pay a lot of taxes, So what happens? People pay their taxes and then it gets distributed, right? For the different schools. So what happens in the process so that some schools get a lot of resources and new facilities and great renovations and new books, and whereas some other schools are like having holes in their ceiling and don't have air conditioning, like how does that happen?
So it happens a couple ways. The first is the way our funding formula is set up. The way we fund our schools really perpetuates the inequalities we have inside the building. I mean, even when you talk, and there's a lot of conversation around at-risk funds right now, which are supposed to, these additional dollars that are supposed to go to our most at-risk students in the city, and most, overwhelmingly minority, overwhelmingly in poverty. But the unfortunate part is a lot of schools in low-income communities with lower performance schools are also typically under-enrolled. And so when you do the per pupil formula, especially for like big comprehensive high schools or very under-enrolled schools, they have a higher overhead in terms of paying teachers and doing all of the things to meet the bottom line, that a lot of those schools are forced to spend that supplemental funding to just meet the bottom line of the school. And so a lot of the funding that's supposed to go for those extra supports for students don't even make it to students. Another thing is, and this is something that the city has to more aggressively solve, is that we have an economy of school choice in our city. But the majority of charter schools in our city are in low-income communities. Ward 3, for instance, which you just mentioned earlier, has 0 charter schools, right, in their ward.
Really?
And so
Wow.
I did not know that.
That's all I know is charter schools in Ward 5.
And then
Wow.
and then because our parents are really trying to find the best fit for their student, and for a whole lot of other reasons, that families being more transient in low-income communities, when students leave a school for whatever reason, the money just doesn't follow them, right? So if you talk about a charter school in Congress Heights, for instance, if a high school student is displaced from that charter school after the October-November count and has to go to Ballou. Ballou has the obligation to serve that student, but doesn't get the money to serve them, right? And so you'll see a school, any random school that might have been projected to have 600 students at the beginning of the year now has 660 or 700 halfway through the school year without the money to support those additional students. So we're literally sending our most at-risk schools in this downward spiral where they can't regain their footing because of a whole host of different reasons. But it's really it's really putting our neighborhood schools at risk. Yeah.
It feels so heavy.
Yeah.
It feels so planned.
Yeah. So Jay, you were saying in Ward 5, it's just like charter school central.
Yeah.
So what has been your experience with Jelani?
His charter school has an excellent premise and foundation and program. Just a very high turnover of staff.
Mm-hmm.
Very uncomfortable. But I've heard that there's this new model that they're trying to do where basically you don't have a principal for more than 2 years. Can you confirm this?
No, I can't. But that sounds like the worst idea I've ever heard. The fact is, we know that students perform better when leadership and staff in the building are more stable. So the fact that there would even be a proposal about turning over leadership more frequently than it's already happening just makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, that's totally like someone thinks it's a good idea to try this, and I think it's a horrible idea, and it's led to a lot of just difficulties and conflict between the principal and the teachers, and
you see how that, and you can also tell very clearly how that turnover impacts students. The fact is, every comprehensive high school, public DCPS high school east of the Anacostia River is now in the process of choosing a new principal, right?
Damn.
The principals that are currently in place today probably or may not be in place next school year, depending on who the selection committee chooses. But the fact that, one, principal turnover is so high east of the river, but also there's like a 33% teacher turnover rate in our lowest performing schools, means that kids can't build the relationships, which means they have less motivation to show up, which means they have less supports inside the building, and that's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, less accountability.
the students are just lost. I mean, I don't know. I definitely have strong feelings about the educational system as a whole. There's this documentary I suggest everyone watch. It's called Schooling the World, The White Man's Last Burden. And it talks about the Department of Education and the worldwide push to dumb down humanity, honestly. Where prior to the Department of Education, you were prided upon being a self-taught individual. Whether you finished grade school or not, the age at which you finished that, the age that you start college was a lot younger. It was just based really upon what you knew and what you wanted to do. People at 16 were going to universities all day.
King, for instance.
Right.
Yeah.
In the not so distant past.
I didn't know that.
You went to college at 16? Yeah.
But just seeing that progression from you being someone who was self-taught, who allowed from a young age, whatever, if you were able to, under the guise of child labor laws and a lot of other things, they kind of pushed this mandatory schooling on us. But it was horrible, especially when you look at with Native Americans and again across the whole world, how they forced people into the school where we learned things that, in 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Why? Why is that the standardized testing and making sure that that the greatest writers to live were white European men? This is indoctrinated into us. We learn English for years and years and years, and no other language is really not mandatory that you learn these things. And so given that, and then you have black children who are in this black city and are taught lies generally, unless they have a teacher that goes above and beyond in their lessons, but you still are forced to learn certain information. A large portion of the school is just teaching them how to take a test, how to take a test, how to pass this particular test, and not even how to think for yourself.
Like life skills.
Yeah, and I think there's certain aspects of like that self-taught culture that we could replicate, right? But it's also something that benefited me, right? But I mean, obviously, I had compulsory education through grade school, but there are also things that I think speak to what you were talking about, right? Like the fact that we know that outcomes are going to be better for students academically and professionally long term if as a child you have at least one book in the house, right? There was a study done that said if a child had access to one book in the house, that their chances at success grew exponentially.
Wow.
Right? And I had a mom who made sure that there were books in the house, who took me to museums on the weekends, right? Those are things that she did to supplement the education I was getting in the classroom.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, when you talked about kind of teachers who go above and beyond, I always think about my English teacher in high school, Miss Jones, who we could have gone through like the typical English curriculum, but she had us reading Souls of Black Folk and Miseducation of the Negro, and right, all of these like very profound works. And then not only were we reading them, but we were discussing them. And then in 10th grade, we're writing college level 20-page papers on them, right? And those are the things that really killed us when we were in high school. But I was talking to a few of my friends a couple weeks back, and we were like, what would we have done without Miss Jones, right? I mean, it's just like you don't appreciate it, in the moment, but like those are the type of teachers that really change your life. And those teachers exist all across our system, and every school in Ward 8, from personal experience and being the representative for all of these schools. But it's about giving those teachers the resources and the space to do it. And the fact is, over the past 10 years, our government has become so prescriptive and so focused on those numbers, right? The test scores at the end of the year, to show that we're doing something, that we've completely eliminated the flexibility that schools and teachers have to effectively serve students with very different issues and backgrounds and interests, and I think that's been the worst part, I think, of education reform in our city.
I wanna ask each of you a question, but I want to come back to the question. I want to ask you, Marcus, a specific question just because you brought up teachers, and the question for everyone else is about teachers. Basically, okay, I want to know about who your favorite teachers were and, like, what made them a good teacher. Like, why did they change your life? So think about that. While you're thinking about that, I want to ask Marcus, just your opinion about, teachers, it seems like, as an entity, right, whether it's in DC or across the nation, get blamed a lot for the failures of students or of test scores or whatever. And then it seems like there's two conversations that I hear from different people. On the one side, people think that teachers aren't valued enough, that they do so much, and they do.
I agree.
And then there's this other side where it seems like when teachers organize for better wages or benefits, that they're villainized because they're not focusing on the kids or something like that, So I'm just curious what your take is on that, and what can we do here in DC to get teachers the tools, the wages that they deserve. What can we do just to like value, the people who are leading in
Yeah.
the school system better.
Well, I think we've got to push leaders in this city to really change the philosophy about education in this city, because for too long, when things are going well, the institution and the system and the folks in central office and the mayor and the council
They take the
get
credit.
all the accolades, but when things are going bad, the teachers get all the blame. And it's just like we have to, the city has to do a better job at treating teachers like the professionals that they are. Teachers aren't frontline employees at some random transactional agency. These folks are shaping our future, right? And so treating them like the professionals that they are, but also helping them grow in their profession is something that we haven't done effectively. And we've actually pushed great educators out of our city because of the evaluation systems that are really arcane and really harsh, and don't really talk about growth, but talk about if you don't meet this arbitrary benchmark, you're out, right? And it's also, and that evaluation system is also driving our best teachers out of the neighborhoods where they're needed most, right? Because if a teacher can say, if I go teach, at Wilson, right, and I know that my students are going to be where they need to be pretty much no matter what I do at the end of the school year, because they are already ahead of the game. And even if I don't teach them, the community around them and the families they come from are going to make sure they have what they need. If I can do that and keep my job, or if I can go take this more challenging job, right, and maybe not meet this arbitrary benchmark with this student, but get him much further than he ever would have been without me, but I'm still going to get dinged, right? And I still might be fired because I didn't get this student to this arbitrary benchmark. We're driving our best educators out of the communities that need them the most. And I think all of that is to the detriment of our system. So, I mean, plainly, we just got to treat our teachers better. We've got to treat them like the partners that they are in this system, not as these frontline employees. And we have to give them the resources they need inside the classroom and professionally to improve.
I agree with you 100%. Molly, who was one of your favorite or most memorable and impactful educators?
Miss Kennedy, 4th grade.
Why was Miss Kennedy awesome?
I went to St. James Elementary School in Falls Church, which is like a super Catholic, private school. And so I had the same teacher for all my subjects for the first. It was like Little House on the Prairie, and most of my teachers were nuns up until 4th grade, and that was the first teacher I had that wasn't a nun. And so that made a difference because the education was archaic. I mean, it was a joke. I mean, my parents were paying $8,000 a year for each child, so they were paying $32,000 a year for us all. In 1982.
I was gonna say
Wow.
that's one kid now.
Yeah.
$32K. That's one kid.
That's
For private
a
school.
salary.
For
Some
private
people's
school.
salaries,
for
yeah.
private school.
And it was the
Yeah.
shittiest fucking education I've ever gotten in my life. Straight up. I mean, I went from St. James to George Mason High School, one of the top 5 high schools in the country, with interbaccalaureate studies and all that. I mean, I saw the difference night and day. And I had a couple good teachers at St. James, but Miss Kennedy was one of them. She taught me how to take notes, and she made me super productive and organized and definitely influenced. I mean, I still do things that like Miss Kennedy taught me in 4th grade.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Shout
any
out
of
to
my
Miss Kennedy.
teachers made me organized. I'm still working on
Yeah,
that.
me either.
Yeah.
What about you, Mills?
Man, I had a couple teachers that were awesome. Special forever shout outs to Madame Glida, my 6th grade French teacher. She planted the seed of loving the language and the culture of France. Special shout outs, super duper shout outs to Mr. Wolf, my IB world history teacher, who threw the world history book in the garbage on the first day and told us that the book was bullshit because the most magnificent parts of the earth weren't even in the book. And he took the time to really, truly teach us world history. Like, thank you, Mr. Wolf, because he taught it for real, and he's the reason why I'm just so forget about the school system, because he was very honest about the fact that half the year was going to be taught teaching us real history, and then he had to cram the other half of what was going to be what we were taught on. But he was like, it's good because they only quiz you on Europe, and he was like, this much of history is what they test you on, but for real, so just he's the reason why I was on It's Academic, and just have this love for world cultures and honoring all of the cultures for their glorious magnificence and contributions to the intellectual fabric of the world. Yeah.
It's great.
Dope.
Yeah. I have two teachers that really stand out. I have a lot of great teachers. I can rattle them off, but there's two in particular that are just resonating in my heart right now. And one of them is my 10th grade math teacher, Mrs. Jones. And I went to, at this time I was at South Hagerstown High School. So the school I was one of 8 black people in the school. And she was one of 2 or 3 black teachers. So it was nice to see someone that looked like me that was teaching math too. And she was bubbly and made math exciting, and she tolerated all of my questions. I'm not very good at math, so like I have a weird way of like thinking about a different way of thinking about things, but she was always patient with me. And she was also the cheerleading coach. And so I don't know how, but she inspired me and encouraged me to try out for cheerleading, and developed my confidence and my leadership in a way that directly benefits and impacts my life today. As an organizer, someone that leads marches and rallies and chants and stuff, like
chants.
Yes,
Wait.
you'd be. Yes, I am always chanting in the
Glambo.
street.
Hold up.
Glambo is out there, yo. And every time I'm out in the street, chanting, whether it's for workers' rights or immigrants' rights or LGBT, like I'm always the loudest person.
Are you a head chanter? Like, do you come up with the
Yeah,
chants?
man. Yes, I do.
The
That's
master
me
chanter.
right here.
Master
Yes.
chanter.
She's the master chanter.
I'm the
She's
master
the MC
chanter.
of this joint.
Yes. Yes.
Nikki, yo.
Well, we're marching on. Are you marching with us on Saturday? Because you're like.
Am I?
Get
you're
your
like-
chant on.
Oh, with the Pride Parade.
Yeah.
I really want to be there, but I'm going to be at the Kennedy Street Festival
Okay.
in Ward 4 with
Shout
my
out
Ward
Ward 4.
4 slate mates. Yes, because
Shout
we
out
know
Ward 4.
you and Phil Pinnell and the majority of the slate is going to be at the Pride Parade,
Yeah.
but I'm definitely not marching for miles at 8
I was gonna
months
say
pregnant.
we could get you like a hover round
And
or
it's
something.
hot.
Yeah, give me a little floaty or something. I'll ride and
What about,
wave.
Tomorrow in San Antonio.
San Antonio Grill.
Oh yeah, I'll be
Actually,
there.
shout out to, that's our business shout out today. Shout out to
Hey.
the San Antonio Grill in
Yeah,
Brookland, which has been a great restaurant, a great community hub for a long, long time. I've done fundraisers there over the past. Like, they've always been supportive of progressive organizations.
Do they have good queso though?
They have great queso.
What? They have the fried shrimp and calamari for the happy hour. Is the truth.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And it's popping.
Wait, when's because I have a board working session before this. So when's happy
course you
hour
do.
over? Because
I feel like it's over at 7.
okay.
Wait, what time is the thing?
Well, if any of my colleagues are
starts at
listening,
4.
we gotta.
We encourage people to turn out this Thursday to San Antonio Grill. You'll get to meet a lot of the...
Isn't it Wednesday? Wednesday
Yeah,
or Thursday?
Wednesday, June 6th from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. You can meet the candidates
Yeah.
at San Antonio Bar and Grill, located at 3908 12th Street, Northeast Washington, D.C.,
Pew, pew,
right
pew, pew.
in the beautiful Ward 5.
Shout out Ward 5.
Ward 5. The
Fizz
Ward
ass.
5 slate is awesome.
Yay.
Y'all
that
are
one's
killing it. But yeah, we encourage people to turn out. Thank you for clarifying that for us. We are at the stage of the campaign where we need support. We need people and volunteers to help us cover the polls on June 19th. The more people we have that can spend an hour or two at the different precincts, just encouraging people to vote and hand out our information, the better. So show up on Wednesday to San Antonio Bar and Grill in Cleveland Park. Get your happy hour on. Get your queso on.
And voting's already started. So if
Yes.
you if
Yes.
you are if you have any time, go vote. The voting's already open. 1 Judiciary Square, 441 4th Street Northwest,
Yep.
from
Yep.
8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Go vote.
Stop by.
I voted on Monday.
Hey.
No line.
Did you vote for me?
Yeah, of course I did.
That's usually where I go, Judiciary Square. I'm glad to hear that place is still open because actually I wasn't sure since the Board of Elections had moved to Southwest.
Oh yeah. No,
What's going
they're
on
down
there?
in the old council chambers where the State Board of Education meets too. So go vote and then come back for our meeting later this month.
Hey.
Yes. And actually, Marcus, I want to ask you, as a Democrat, right? Because we're running for the DC Democratic State Committee. What do you think Democrats, like what kind of values, what should Democrats be pushing for in terms of our educational system?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so Democrats got to push for more local control of schools. We got to push for community schools that really serve both the academic and non-academic needs of our most at-risk students. Places like Oakland and Chicago, while they have their own set of challenges, are doing really transformative work around the community school model. And that's something I've been talking about since I joined the board. And the fact is, like, our city, as prosperous as we are and as many resources as we have, haven't really moved the ball on that, because what we know is that, especially in the communities where we have the most problems, community schools not only improve academic outcomes for students, but they improve the communities around them, right? So if schools can be hubs for those services and those supports that the entire family needs, imagine like what we could do. So we need to push for community schools. We need to push for more local control. And we need to push back against everything that's ever come out of a press release from the Department of Education since January 20th, 2017.
Boom.
Anything. So just take your pick.
Yeah.
Wow. That bad, huh?
You know,
Yep.
the community school thing, this is something that I've heard Liz Davis, president of the Washington Teachers Union, been talking about for years now.
Yeah.
And other people as well. So I'm all about, transformative models of things. Like, if it's not working, like, why are we trying to, let's Wakanda it, like, let's think about something completely different. You know what I'm saying?
Shout outs to Andinkra, shout outs to Diallo, shout outs to Mamuna Youssef, Tamika Love Jones, and everybody that's community schooling, homeschooling, doing alternative educational plans. Shout outs to Diallo, right? Bomani Arma, yo. It's a really powerful community of people who are teaching their kids, and their kids are all geniuses. And to look at their kids, Diallo's son has a full ride scholarship to Berkeley School of Music. He got another offer to do a year at was the London Conservatory, I believe, as well. Maimuna's son is a straight up genius, building robots and things like that. But Mani's sons are geniuses, and just remember
so
when they were born and seeing them, just the limitless. Man, shout outs to Milani Douglas and her awesome ball of light. Just seeing so many folks that are living that, and man, the kids are just amazing. I know that I'm gonna probably have to take my son out. I do a lot of work with him at home, and I remember, being in public schools, and I hated school forever. Like, those teachers I named are the only ones that really held my attention. Okay, Ganner, Levy, boom. But I was so self-taught, and everybody else was so far behind. I was so bored. I hated school. I hated college. College didn't get interested in me until the last year. Like, so much of the time is spent you learning arbitrary bull stuff. I'd read my whole textbook like the first week of school, and like,
You're like, I'm done.
I'm done here, But the idea, I love to read more, just going to the library and just reading more. I was always ahead. but my mom felt like for social reasons I needed to be in school. But again, seeing the community school where it's a network of people
Yeah.
and parents and who are coming together to take care of these kids, and it's not even a Monday through Friday or a school day. Life is school.
Yeah.
And
And to that point, it's like we've got community schools matter most in low income communities, not just for all the reasons I named, but because schools uptown, they already, whether you call it that or not, they already have a community school, right? Because no matter how under resourced their schools are, right, the parents have the means. You know, there's a school I heard of uptown that the PTA raises $1,000 per kid, right, just to do the supplemental stuff, right? But if low income families without the means could get the support from government to do the same thing, right, for their kids, and our schools were open enough where, you know, parents didn't have to go through this arcane process to just volunteer, right? My mom was always in the building when I was I mean, she worked, but she, you know, was in the building volunteering. But we've built a wall up for, and our communities can't engage in the school community anymore, and I think that's also been a huge thing.
There are certain schools, more than one. Just talking with other parents that have this attitude that the parents are a distraction, and they don't want the parents in the school, and it's under this whole. I mean, I don't know. It may sound insensitive. I guess maybe I'm being insensitive, but they're feeling like, you know, everybody doesn't have a mom, everybody doesn't have a dad, everybody doesn't have a grandma. And, you know, it's unfair and traumatizing to those who do not have that in their home. And for that child to be, oh, yeah, my mom is here, but, you know, someone's will never come. I'm like, I don't know. I never thought about it like that. I just know my mom never came to school. She was working all the time, but there are other people whose moms were there all the time. I didn't feel jealous about it.
Yeah, I can co-sign that because, like, my parents' marriage has long since failed. I don't even know what they were thinking when they had me. So they were never at games. Like, I would be the kid who had to get driven home at the end of the day by the coach because I'd be the last one, and my parents clearly weren't coming to get me. Like, I was that kid, you know, or after swim meets, we'd go to Pizza Hut, and I couldn't get anything because I didn't have any money, and I just, like, rode with someone else. And it was embarrassing as shit, you know, and it stung, but it made me who I am. But it didn't, like... It just made me appreciate the relationships I had with my friends' parents. You know, like even to this day, I spend holidays with my best friend's family, and I don't feel triggered or traumatized by that. I feel hella grateful that I was able to experience, you know, like I was a living nanny one time. I was just submerged into a whole family. Like, oh, this is how, you know, I did a couple times like, oh, this is how you do it. And I was welcome into that home, and I gained so much from it. So for me, it's like, you know, that the reality is you don't have a mom, and that's going to fucking suck your whole life. So at least let them hang out with somebody else's mom.
Yeah,
I
man.
mean,
love is love is love.
Right,
Support
like,
is support.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
It's crazy, but they real live are like, oh no, it's a distraction. And then to volunteer, it's almost like I'm signing up to be a substitute. Like, dang, I gotta go. I mean, I guess I feel safe and all that. You know, it's cool, but geez.
But it's like, you know, it's like, one, as much as the system can support strengthening a parent's relationship with their child and putting greater stake in a parent in their child's academic outcomes is great. But then all of those volunteers, all of those community members, all of those parents inside the school don't just become each kid's individual parent, they become that school's community, right? And so you got to have that support system for our students. But right now, our teachers, our administrators, our students feel like they're in the building by themselves with no support in or around them. And if we don't really come up with innovative ways to bring that community inside the building, I mean, our students who are most at risk are not going to make it.
Yeah. You know, it's sad, but hearing you say this, it makes me think of society at large, like our trend with just devaluing us, like as people, as our kids and stuff, and valuing more like the dollar or this next big fancy thing or enterprise, instead of just like valuing the human existence and what people need to actually like become self-actualized, healthy, happy, productive citizens. Like we forget about that. We just want the shiny thing over there that somebody else has. And you know, this is part of the reason I'm really excited to run on the slate with all of you and all the other people, because I know that we as a slate value people.
Yep.
We value business and we value prosperity, but we value people first and foremost, you know, people's health, welfare, education, you know, and so I am excited to win with all of you and put those people values in the forefront again in the DC Democratic Party, and hope that we can effectuate a shift in our values, you know, and see a fruition of some steps of transformation on these different fronts that each of us care about, whether it's the arts or whether it's the cannabis community, whether it's our education system, whether it's rights for workers. All of us sort of represent the humanity in these different facets of life, as well as other folks on the slate. So I'm proud of you all. I'm really proud of you, Marcus. I'm really inspired by your leadership, being so young, so knowledgeable. So also, this man is an ANC commissioner.
What?
Like,
Wait, how old are you?
25.
Stop playing.
you know what I'm saying? Like, can you imagine if you were as on point when you were 25?
I'm not even
like,
gonna tell y'all what I was doing when I was 25.
I know, me either.
Statute of limitations hasn't ran out.
Man, I was partying it up.
Well, you know, you do that too.
I
but
was.
Yeah. You're like,
Yeah.
don't count them
Yeah.
all the way out.
that doesn't stop. That doesn't stop.
So I have one more teacher I want to shout out real quick. 8th grade math teacher. His name was Richard. He was a major in the Army, and his last name was Head, and he preferred to be called Dick. So he was Major Dickhead, and I just want to say, for being an 8th grade math teacher, that takes a lot of cojones. So shout out to him for providing countless 8th graders with
Comic relief.
with so much material.
Ammunition.
Dude,
Dickhead.
major dickhead.
Major dickhead.
I feel like he was just like, you know what, they're gonna call me dickhead anyway. I'm just gonna,
Roll with it.
yeah,
Just
I'm just
go
gonna
with
own it.
Own
Right.
it.
You
Title
gotta
and
8
name.
mile it up.
Yeah, I don't remember anything he taught me. I don't think he taught me a damn thing, but
But you remember that.
yeah, I mean, come on, that's like, you
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
ask for
Classic.
more in 8th grade. I'm like, you should have been a 4th grade teacher. You would have had so much easier life. Why would you
Yes.
go 8th grade?
8th grade's like the
eighth-
most
8th graders are
perverted.
terrible
and-
little humans at that point. Like, they're literally in a weird space. I love all
Yeah.
kids, but they're kind of a little terrible.
They're in puberty
Yeah.
at that point.
I was
and
the worst.
Horrendous.
I was the
Yeah.
worst of my 8th grade
they
slew of
smell
teachers.
weird too.
Oh man.
and they
I
can,
smelled weird.
and they can smell fear from a mile away.
Yes.
I terrorized one of my teachers. Ooh. Sorry
Who the
about
fuck
that,
is
Miss
it?
Green.
Hey man. I want to transition because it's 10:28, so we're coming to a close. I want to transition over to our metaphysical moment with the one, the only, the fabulous Jay Mills.
The metaphysical.
We got to get metaphysical on this show.
Yeah, man.
It's what we do. Let's get metaphysical. Physical. I want
You notice I'm not singing.
metaphysical
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Show.
Okay.
Effortless.
This metaphysical moment is dedicated to life and death. Recently lost someone who came into my life quite recently. She had been a friend of mine through social media for years and years, almost a decade. And I knew her through music. You know, people like know me because of my art and whatnot. But we recently linked up in real life, and it was just like I met my long lost sister. So dope. I've lost several people, you know, in life. We lose people. And I've always been struck by how amazing it is that no matter what, you never realize that a person was an angel until they die. It's like there's a veil in front of your face that you do not witness that this person is real live the whole time, an angel, divine, blessed. greater than you ever knew, touched like by God. And you didn't even know it. You didn't see it. You took it for granted. You laughed with them, joked with them, smoked with them, did whatever. And then they pass away and you see that they were angelic. It's amazing. It's crazy. It's the whole divinity of humanity. It's who you are truly. It's the truth that we try to tap dance away from, and our ego tries to distract you from it. Your ego got you thinking that you're a man, that you're a woman, that you're tall, that you're short, that you're fat, you're a Gemini, you're from DC, whatever. You're black, you're white. That's what your ego says. But truthfully, that body stays. And what is truly you, what is truly you is just the sparkle of light in your eye. You are, by definition, light. You, what is actually you, is a limitless source of unending energy. That is what you are. That is who you are. That's who you've always been. That's who we all are. And just like when a star dies, it does not die. Stars explode. Supernova is what happens when a star dies. And the same thing with the human being. When this human being dies, just like that, boom, the whole potential of their whole life is seen. Every person that they ever touched is amazing. You'll never get that from this side. You, while alive, will never feel it. The people who know you will never see it. It's so amazing, and that's why it's so important to cherish the day. Cherish the moment. Cherish every single person that you know. Cherish every person that you love. Cherish every day of your life. Cherish every interaction that you have. Cherish every conversation that you have, because you do not know. It could be your last. We spend so much of our life bottling up how we feel about people, acting like we're too cool to do something, faking like we're going to go somewhere and sending a like and retweeting it or doing something online. But it is real life over everything. For some reason, like, years ago, it was like we went on the internet to escape the world, and now you go to the world to escape the internet. It's crazy. But with this fake life, with people doing so many fake things online, not real, this metaphysical moment is about what is real and making the most out of every connection, even if it is online and social media. Go beyond a simple like to make a comment. Go beyond that comment to share the post. Go beyond whatever your interaction is right now to be a little bit more passionate and to be a little bit more real. When you think about somebody, actually pick up the phone and hit them up. If you want to text them, don't even text, straight up call. You want to call, ask them when you can come through and see them face to face. Make the plans, set the plans, let your word be your bond. Because we living in a fake world right now where people say one thing and do another. They say they'll come and they don't. They say they'll call, they won't. I'll call you right back. Call never comes. I'll text you later, they don't never text. Just like that, our power is disappearing. Our days are disappearing. Our connections are fading. And time waits for no man. So my metaphysical message once more is to remind you of the divinity that you have within yourself with every breath that you have to take. It is not a given. Life is a gift for real. It is a gift for every moment that you're living in. The fact that your heart beats is a blessing, straight up. And no matter how bad and how stressed and how terrible or whatever your day may feel, you got to understand that there is a gift in life. Human being. You're not just a human. You are a human being. Not a human was, not a human would, not a human might, but a human being. Constant action, constant elevation. It's not good enough to dwell on what was. It is always about what you can continue to be. You must be love actively. Passively, we think that people know how we feel about them. We think they know this. We think they know. Nah, you got to show it continuously. It's an action verb. Love is an action verb. So for each and every person that you love, Make sure you show them that you love them. If you're feeling this message, I want you to text somebody that you love. Text a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time. Text a family member that you haven't talked to in a long time. Reach out, because once again, man, you know not the day nor the hour. Your life, your death date is as sure as your birth date. That's how I feel about it. I mean, I know I can't speak on law on that, but I do know that life is a gift. Just as, for whatever reason, we as humans in this paradigm, we don't understand the miracle of life. We don't understand that it's a miracle that your face came together all the way, and your lips are formed, and your eyelids split, and you got all your fingers, and they're not. There's so many things. You got your arms, you got your legs, you got your mind. You can think. You have a sound mind. You are conscious. You're awake. My God. And you're living your life like this every day. You know, some people just do not understand the blessing that is because you are. That is it. Simply because you are. That is a blessing. Rest in peace to Kate Spade. Because depression is real. And many people think that it's the things that you have or the person that you're dating. And it goes back into that ego and lurking outside of yourself for these things to define yourself. And you can find yourself lost, forgetting that all that is all that is, and all that matters is you. You are enough. You are love. You are light. You are eternal. Even if all you are is yourself, that is a blessing, because people do not even have that. They seriously do not even have a self. They do not have a conscience. They are vegetables on a bed. And that's their life for years and years and years. And that's their whole life. They from a baby to that's it. So, for real, my metaphysical message again is to be thankful, be forever thankful. Stop stressing, count blessings, because your reality is based on your perception. Misery loves company, and you can drag yourself down when you're depressed. That's some crazy stuff right there. But when you are the miserable one, you will drag yourself down. You will steal your own joy. Whew. So you got to psych yourself out. You have to remember, you have to remind, that is, make your mind up over again, refix it and put it back together again, and remember that you are divine. Every moment of your life is a blessing. You are meant to be a blessing to others. Remember those who love you. Love yourself first. Peace out.
Thank you for that. Really great wisdom nuggets up in there, and a needed message, and it just really resonated with me, you know. And it always comes back to this, folks. Vote on June 19th for the party of people that value people, that see other human beings as light, that want to, put out love, and you know, just shine and transform. That's what we've been talking about today on the show. So again, I'm super excited, super proud to be running in this election with all of you. Thank you for that metaphysical moment. Marcus, thank you for joining us on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You're so awesome. We look forward to seeing you at the happy hour and everywhere else. Folks who are watching, donate to Marcus, because he's awesome, and donate to me and Molly and Jay. Check out our website at demsforaction.nationbuilder.com. We would love for you to give us $5 so we can print more literature. But again, thank you for coming on the show. Molly, Nick, DJ Mike Phillips, everyone at the House of One Love Massive, thank you for hosting us as always.
Thank you.
This is such a great space. We love it. And until next week, we'll see you then. Peace out, everyone.
See you next time.